Hola, buen día y bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenidex a otra lección de gramática. Nosotros hoy día discutimos el verbo irregular ser. Let's start by looking at the question, what is an irregular verb? All right? Then we should compare it to a regular verb, and we'll do this in English and Spanish. Let's start with the verb to talk. And in Spanish, this is hablar, right? In English, right, in the present tense, I would say I talk, you talk, he talks, she talks, we talk, they talk, etc., right? This is very regular, very simple in its conjugation forms. In Spanish, also a very regular verb, and it's regular in that this stem here, it doesn't change to anything else when we conjugate it in almost any tense, in pretty much all of the tenses, all right? So for example, like in the present tense, yo hablo, tú hablas, ella habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ellos hablan, right? The stem isn't going to change at all. It's very regular. Okay. All right, let's go to irregular verbs, all right? Let's use ser as our example, right? It means to be. That is our meaning of ser, okay? Or it can mean being, okay? I'll look at some examples in a second, all right? And of course, ser, okay? Now, to be, right? In English, it's very irregular. Listen to the conjugations in the present tense. I am, you are, she is, right? Am, are, and is have absolutely no first glance commonalities with the infinitive form, right? They are very different from one another. Hence, they are irregular, all right? And ser is the same way in the present tense, as in yo soy, tú eres, ella es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellas son. Now, ser has a number of meanings in its infinitive unconjugated form, all right? So of course, the first one I mentioned was to be. I'll give you the famous Hamlet quote in Spanish. Ser o no ser, esa es la pregunta, right? To be or not to be, that is the question. It can also mean being as a noun or subject. Here is the example as a subject, right? Ser profesor hoy en día es difícil. And that means like being a teacher in this day and age is difficult, right? So that would be as a subject, right? But it can also mean like a being, like a living thing, right? Por ejemplo, un ser vivo, right? Living being. Ser humano, un ser humano, a human being. Un ser acuático, right? An aquatic being, right? Like a fish, for example, right? So those are our meanings of ser, right? These are kind of idiomatic in their nature. Let's go to the conjugations in the present tense. Always use this chart, please, because it's the most logical way of organizing verb conjugations. All right. What is the yo form, as in I am? Yo soy. What is the tú form, as in you are? Eres. What is the usted, él, or ella form? Es. Usted, by the way, means the same thing as tú. It's just a more respectful way to say it, like you sir, or you madam. What is the nosotros form of ser, as in we are? Somos. What is the vosotros? Sois. This is really typical in Spain Vosotros can mean you all or just you singular. You will find vosotros in some parts of Latin America, specifically Colombia, but it's quite rare to use vosotros in the Western Hemisphere. It's a much more Spain-specific conjugation. And then finally, ustedes, and then ellos or ellas. Notice that arroba, it's like o and a at the same time. So you all, right? And again, these two are really more like one another, okay? So ustedes, ellos, ellas, son. Now, what I've done here is I've taken out all of the subject pronouns just to reveal only the conjugations of ser in the present tense, okay? So we have to memorize these. So we're gonna use that same funk riff that we did for the conjugation endings for regular verbs in the present tense, and we're going to use these conjugations as our lyrics for this mnemonic device, all right? It goes like this. Soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. Why don't you try it? Soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. A couple more times. Soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. One more time, please. Soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. Muy bien. So, that is just a simple way, just soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. You can even do it to your favorite trap beat and practice it that way, right? It's all about what you like. Now let's talk about our third person conjugations. And by the way, this is first person, second person, third person. First, second, third, right? So first, second, and then third, right? So these third person conjugations, as in like él, es, ellos son, by themselves, these verbs mean the following. Es means it is, or can mean it is. For example, es un muy buen día hoy día. Es una buena clase, right? It is a good class. Keep in mind, right? We usually use this as a contraction in English, so we combine it and is with to it apostrophe s, it's, right? So s means it is or it's, right? And son can mean they are or they're, right? They apostrophe re, right? So some examples with son. Son muy buenos amigos, right? They're very good friends. How about this one? Son estudiantes muy inteligentes. They are very smart students. I'll give you one more. Son parques excelentes. They are excellent parks, okay? So these are idioms in the third person, right? We don't need the word it or they, right? We just need to say es to say it is or it's, and son to say they are or they're. So, when do we use ser? It's important for you to stop and think for a moment. All right? So, ser can mean time, as in es la una. That means like it's 1 o'clock, or son las dos, so that would be it's 2 o'clock. Notice that for 1 o'clock we do singular, es la una. For anything greater than, so 2 through 12 o'clock, we say son, right? Because 2 is more than 1 plural. Son las dos, okay? Oh, occupation. Soy profesor, eres estudiante. Your occupation is technically to be a student at this time. Maybe you have a job, but we'll just use this as the example. Soy profesor, eres estudiante. And then finally, anything with personality or appearance, right? So what you are like as a person on the outside and inside, right? So personality, as in él es, we'll say athletic, or maybe Ellas son inteligentes. All right? And that concludes our lesson on the irregular verb ser. Now, move on and get a little bit more practice with this verb. If you have any questions, please contáctame. Gracias y que tenga usted un buen día. Adiós.